And now, News and Brews. Are you looking to uncover how design ideas are brought to life and talk to leading engineers who drive product innovation? It's time for D&M West correspondent Sammy Birch.
Thanks for joining me today. I'm here with Jay Douglas. Jay is the Chief Operating Officer for the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing ARM Institute. Jay, thank you for joining us. Can you talk a little bit about the ARM Institute and how you serve others and what type of work your organization does?
Sure. So Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing is a public-private partnership, but we're a nonprofit. We were stood up 7 years ago. We are principally funded by the United States Department of Defense. We are a part of a very loose group of about 16 other companies which are called Manufacturing Innovation Institutes. So what do? We formed a consortium that today totals over 450 companies and universities and some other nonprofits. Big companies, little companies, the top universities in robotics in the United States. Our mission with that consortium is to improve U.S. manufacturing competitiveness through the use of robotics and thereby national security, which is why the Department of Defense is involved. So our process is that we define some problem statements in using robots in manufacturing. It could be grinding, sanding, welding, inspecting, moving, sorting, whatever. We put out these problem statements. We collect proposals from teams of our members. We evaluate them competitively, and then we fund the work for these teams to do. A project is typically $500,000 for 12 months. At the end of the project team shares the results with the other members of the consortium. If somebody wants to commercialize it, they can license it to the user. The project team owns the intellectual property. That's sort of the secret sauce of this process, because usually when you're using somebody else's money, you don't get to keep it. But that's what happens in this process. We've run a little over 150 projects since we started 6 years ago. So we've been moving pretty quick. We've got a lot of great results, and we're pretty pleased with what we're doing.
That's such important work. Do you typically, so the companies that you work with, are they usually like a small to mid-sized manufacturer?
It's a little bit of everything. We've got Boeing, Airbus, Siemens, Lockheed, and we probably have 160 small companies out of our consortium. The other part of the story, 2 years ago, we got a nice grant of about $8 million from the Department of Commerce in the Build Back Better program, and they challenged us to create what we call a de-risking center in our building for small manufacturers to come that are thinking about automating, thinking about deploying robotics. But for a small company, deploying robotics might be like launching a spacecraft. You know, it's just, there's so many aspects of it that are so difficult and, and just really, really hard decisions. So we work with these little companies. We've got robots. We've got application spaces they can work in. And we want to help them make a decision that makes sense for them, so they're not just blowing tons of money and tons of time. You see, these little companies, they don't have money and they don't have time. So that's what we're doing specifically with small companies.
Got it. So is the model that you partner these small companies who are looking to automate with people in the consortium that
they could be, but it's not, doesn't really go that deep.
Okay.
We're just trying to help them make the right decision on the surface. You know, in fact, we started this project just over a year ago, and we're already working with 27 different companies, and a couple of them, we've gotten engaged with them, and they relatively quickly decided they couldn't do this. Mm-hmm. It was just beyond them. It was too complicated. There were too many social issues. we're never going to get our guys to learn how to do this.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even understand. There's a lot of issues. It's in a sense, it's very easy for a large company to do, technology adoption because they can find somebody who wants to do it. But a little company, it becomes way more about behavior.
Well, yeah, because the stakes are so much higher. If
Oh,
you're
yeah.
working at a big company with
Yeah.
an R&D budget, you can
Right.
support
You can
bringing something
try
new.
it out. And then we're giving them a chance in our de-risking center to try things out.
That's amazing.
So,
So, you kind of answered this, but I think we could go a little bit deeper. For those businesses that are on limited budgets who know they need to automate, like my competitor is automating and I need a robot in here. I can't get people to show up to work. Where would you suggest that they start?
well, okay, so I think that the first thing that they have to do, and I think you sort of just mentioned it, they need to, most of these small companies are owned by a single individual. They need to decide that this is what they're going to do, and they need to decide and they need to commit because it is hard. They're going to have to do things they probably haven't done before. They're going to have to buy things that they're going to have to finance. They're going to have to convince their workforce to change their behaviors. They're going to have to do lots of things. They're going to have to learn all kinds of new stuff. So they need to convince themselves that this is what they have to do. Now, from a competitive perspective, the small company has the same problem everybody else does, except I think it's just way more emphasized. They have to focus on cost, quality, and schedule, because if they're not improving those three things, they're by definition going out of business. So how is this automation, how is this robot going to improve my quality, going to make me faster, and it's going to lower my costs? And if it does those things, then it becomes a no-brainer. And they really then have to figure out how to get through the next set of hurdles. And I'm not diminishing it by skipping over it. Everything about this is hard. And that's one of the things we're trying to do, is to remove some of that pain and make it the decision maybe a little bit more collaborative. They can come to us and we can help them instead of them doing it on their own.
That's great. So you help them create a roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've got a few minutes left. We've got to talk about your talk later, and it sounds like if there are people out there that are looking to automate or in this same area where you're talking about, I'm a small manufacturer, I know I need a robot in here, I've got to figure it out. You're talking about de-risking robotics for manufacturing today. What can people expect to learn here at 1 p.m. when you're talking?
Okay, well, I want to be clear, set the right expectation. As you and I have already both said, this is a very difficult problem. Have we figured it out? No, of course not. But what I'm going to share is what we're doing. And we're relatively secure that we're going to continue to learn and get better at it. But it is a really hard problem. I'm going to give a couple of examples of small companies. I'm going to talk about, not too much down in the weeds about what our process is. And then I'm going to show some of the things that we've created to help make this a little bit easier. Have we helped some people so far? Yeah, we've already got some people to decide that they shouldn't do this. And that's a thing.
That's help.
Yeah. Did we take the risk out? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do we do that? They're not going to do it. There is no risk. So, we've got that. I'll talk a little bit about our company, and it's my 40 minutes.
Awesome.
So,
well, thank you so much, Jay, for joining me today.
my
I'm
pleasure.
really excited to hear more about what the ARM Institute is doing. And
sure. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of the show.